I'm coming now to unmute you, buddy. Hold on. Come on in. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Do I keep going? We're good? Okay, perfect. Okay. Um, Hi. One of the many yeah, amazing gifts of this online pandemic era has been the fact that I get to meet or develop closer relationships with other people who are excited about this program. A lot of them that came before me who I admire, and then this call, and some of them who, either alongside or afterward, doesn't even matter. We're all on the same path, just trying to be better people, and I, Theory, I just wanted you to know that I watch you and I see you, but I know your heart is full and you've been trying to just give it away. And I appreciate that and I admire that. Okay. Just so you know, I see you. That's it for you. Um, let's see. Okay. I'm a grateful alcoholic and a cocaine addict. I was separated from alcohol and cocaine on January the 4th of 2012, and I haven't left you guys. I haven't been right in the middle of the circle and triangle to the best of my ability. However, this illness is so cunning, baffling, and powerful that I don't have the 12 years sober from that day. The reason for that is for about a year, I was coming up to my 5-year medallion in 2016. And for about a year before that, this dis-ease, this DIS-ease, internal dis-ease of cocaine addiction and alcoholism spoke with me. And for about a year before that, the date where I had to renew my dry date, it was telling me that there's a image to uphold in Cocaine Anonymous, and it's about sounding good and how many speaking engagements you have, and number of sponsees, and they better be doing good, or they better talk about you. Yeah. So what it told me that I can't share myself honestly with you guys. And I'm not talking airing dirty laundry at every single meeting. That's okay, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about sharing myself honestly with my sponsor and brothers on the path that sometimes I'm hurting. I'm praying and meditating and doing inventory, trying to sponsor people at once, but sometimes I'm in the fear position at home because I can't find a job to help support a family. I feel like I'm not enough, and depression is coming to get me. I was ashamed to share that, and this illness is cunning, baffling, and powerful. And they say in these rooms that you're sick as your secrets. So those secrets that I thought I had brushed under the carpet, the disease knows the secrets. It waited patiently until my wife went to get some minor surgery. The doctor gave her some Percocets to take, the prescribed painkillers, right? Actually, it's coming up to 14 years this August, by the way. And the disease told me, hey, you're not a pill. You never had a problem with pills. You're an alcoholic and a cocaine addict. Take a couple. So I took a couple. And then the next morning, I renewed my dry date. Thank God for an ounce of humility and good sponsorship and taking direction. I renewed my dry date, and I became present to two beautiful spiritual, powerful spiritual truths for me, which sometimes I move to share. One is cunning, baffling, powerful. Doesn't come at me as a drink or do some go get a baggie of cocaine anymore. It comes at me from the side door. Comes at me from the back door. That's one thing. The second thing is that I have my own experience of I wouldn't drink or use even if I would. The fact that I didn't keep on going and hiding it, if I did, I would have been drinking and dying and using right now. And I'm so grateful for that. As from that day to this, I'm a little over 7 years now, September 8th of 2016. From that day to this, I believe, okay, just my experience is that I have been walking a little bit more humble walk, just a little bit more kinder walk. As a result, just a little bit more powerful walk, experientially for me. Rumi says, in this lover's path, walk with truth and humility. Those two things will take your hands and sit you right next to God. Truth and humility. That's all the steps do for me. Get me present to truth and humility so I can be a better servant. So I can be a better servant. So, my sobriety date is September the 8th of 2016. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. And I always want to thank the long timers, the old timers. I guess some of them would like to be called old timers, long time people that came before me, because I was a retread. I learned that term in the Zoom era. I didn't know such a term existed. I was in and out, retread, in and out for 7 years, dying. in the depths of despair in this program, in this illness, excuse me. Didn't know what to do with myself. And it was the long timers with your smiling faces, with your humble spirit. You guys shine this beautiful power. You guys walked these 12 steps and lived these 12 steps long before I knew what the 12 steps in the big book were. People like my friend Ronald, with your kindness. You guys show me how this program works as a design for living. You guys show me that we don't shoot the wounded here. You guys taught me that no one's better than anyone else in Cocaine Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous. We're all walking shoulder to shoulder. You guys demonstrated for me principles in your affairs, because if you don't, then you don't become attractive to me, So thank you for that. I appreciate you. Thank you for that. And what the long timers have spoon-fed me through the years. Sometimes I've been ever so slow as a learner, but that's okay. God doesn't make too hard turns. What they've spoon-fed me through the years is that I'm not here to teach anybody anything. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm not the authority in Cocaine Anonymous. I am a broken soul with my own experience. I'm here to share that. All I'm going to do, to the best of my ability, I always pray and ask God, some version of God, allow me to be transparent. Please fill me with humility. I pray that the Spirit allows me to disrobe in front of you, spiritually speaking, and let you see the gash in the armor, the broken heart, the wound in the psyche. Because it's only through the cracks that God shines through. That's how we are useful to each other. That's how you have become useful to me, by sharing the brokenness and allowing me to see how spiritual principles shine through it. The molestation of those two 15-year-old boys when I was 8 years old. The beatings of an addicted father. Racism. Bombing. Feeling I'm not good enough. Suicide attempts. All those. That's where God shines through. That's how I become useful to others. That's how I become present to the beauty of this life. Because I get to live my purpose. To be a servant. You taught me. You told me that the highest position in Cocaine Anonymous is thought of as the lowest position out there. That of servant. You taught me. Thank you for that. I appreciate you for that. Thank you for that. I landed here broken in every way you could imagine. I was suicidal, couldn't put 2 days together sober towards the end. I was unemployed and unemployable. I was unloved and definitely unlovable. I was ugly on the outside and inside. I certainly felt that way. By the way, thank you to the people that have your videos on. Thank you so much, because it's so difficult to speak without, on Zoom, without that interaction of the Spirit. And the people that can have their videos on, that do their video, I appreciate you so much, because I get to feed off your faces. Thank you very much. If you can, I appreciate you. I can look back and tell you, like in the third dimension, who 12-step me, want me, all that stuff. Fine, maybe it'll come out, maybe it won't. But the only thing the one thing that's important, that's really means anything, is that when I look back with clear spiritual glasses today, the only thing that makes sense, what at first seemed like a flimsy reed, was the loving hand of this powerful God that grabbed me, caressed me, brought me to the rooms of Cocaine Anonymous, introduced me to you guys. And you guys told me, Ali, to the best. See, if you are sick and tired of being sicker and tired of being sicker and tired of you, we're going to help you experience a design for living, in which, if you try your best to be situated in the middle of the circle and triangle, steps, fellowship, tradition, or whatever, unity recovery service, all the parts. If you do that to the best of your ability, not perfection, to the best of your ability, you will tap into a power that is going to revolutionize your way of being and thinking and living. And that's what's happened to me. I have tapped into a power that has taken me from the scrappy of life and the most beautiful life today, with all the ups and downs, but with all the heartaches, and hopefully I'll talk about a couple of them with you guys, I'm sober because of a loving God. I'm sober because of a forgiving God. I do not apologize for my relationship with God anymore. And at the same time, I do not try to force you my belief in a God anymore. For 7 years, I was in and out of this program, dying, trying to knock on every single door to prove to you that what I will find behind this door will save me. That's what I need. I'm not one of you guys. The girlfriend would save me. Love will save me. Jobs will save me. Accolades will save me. Religion will save me. Motivational, the gym will save me. Knowledge will save me. See, every single one of those doors had to shut in my face. The 12 and 12 talks about under the lack of alcoholism, under the lack of cocaine addiction, I came to you guys. Under the lash, excuse me, not lack, lash of it. By no virtue. I came back humbled, beaten, a blank slate, teachable, open-minded, enough to hear what you've been saying the whole time. What the long-timers were saying the whole time. They were telling me that I always had a God. My God's name was cocaine. My God's name was alcohol. I'm a cocaine addict and an alcoholic. That you worship this God. This God dictated how you live your life. I was humble enough to start to hear how you describe this God to me. It's not a belief in a religious God. It's not a you must believe. It's a very simple couple of lines in the big book. Our ideas did not work, but the God idea did. Very simple. So Ali, have your ideas worked? No? Well, we got a new idea for you to try out. It's a God idea, not a belief in, not a proof of. They set the bar so low. An idea. An idea. You want to try it on? I sure do. Because I was humbled and I was beaten. I had no other options at that time. You know? And what you told me, this idea is it is very similar to a scientific process in which I come up with a hypothesis with an educated guess that maybe God is, because I have no other options. And then I perform a series of actions, series of experiments, time after time after time after time, which prove to me the existence of this loving God in my life. That's all I've done. Scientific process. Very scientific for me, the spiritual path. Thank you for being a demonstration of this power when I read with you. And today, thank you. Thank you for being a demonstration, because sometimes, man, life gets tough. And my brain starts to tell me, really? God? Once in a while? I'm not going to lie to you. Maybe all this is bull. You know what I do then? I hold on to your faith. I talk to you and I hold on to your faith. You know what I do then? I act as if. I act as if God exists. Very simple. It's a program of action, not a program of discussion, although we do that and it's beneficial as needed. Not a program of philosophizing, although we do that and it's beneficial, sometimes we need it. Program of action. Not a program of love me, love me, love me, love me, love me, because if your love was enough, my mother's love would have been more than enough. That's a powerful love. All those things are needed and happen. But all those things better inspire me to set on a course of vigorous action that will make me present to this loving God again. This loving God again. I started drinking at the age of 16 and using cocaine about a year after that, I think, or a couple years after that. I could tell you that in my drinking and using career, I have used pretty much every imaginable substance that was mood altering under the sun that I know of, pretty much. Okay? But I'm not powerless over any of them. All of them. I'm not an addict to everything under the sun. That's important for me, because I need to know what I'm powerless over. I need to know what my truth is in the first step. By the way, if I get passionate about something, please don't take it as this is the only way. Okay? Don't do that. Okay? This is just my truth. It doesn't have to be yours. Okay? So what I'm saying is this. So I tried everything under the sun, yet nothing did for me what alcohol and cocaine did. Nothing. They filled that God-sized hole to such a degree that I chased it to the gates of insanity and death for about 5 years after it stopped working for me. For the first couple of years, every time I drank, every time I did a few lines of cocaine, it was as if like life made sense. My skin fit. I could breathe. And then my world of potential that everyone used to tell me about, it started shrinking and shrinking and shrinking and shrinking and shrinking and became one grungy motel room that I used to rent in Southeast Toronto with bottles of vodka, needles in my arms, all the ugly extracurricular activity that follows that kind of lifestyle. I landed in Alcoholics Anonymous. I landed in Cocaine Anonymous. Okay? So I'm going to talk about C a little. I landed here judging you because powder cocaine kicked my butt. I landed here judging people that would smoke the rock or smash in their veins. I would never do that. You know what this illness did? The old timer told me this one time. And I used to judge people to him. He's like, something like, not yet, Ali. Stands for you're eligible to. You know what this illness did? Without my permission, every line that I drew in the sand, that I'll never do this. I'll never hit my sister for money. I'll never steal my parents' belongings to sell them. I'll never smoke crack. I'll never shoot her in my veins. It just dragged me through all of that. Because I'm powerless. Powerless. It took away everything that meant anything in my life from me. I didn't know that every time I start, I have no power over how much I drink or use. I didn't know that. I thought it was something wrong with me, like I lack moral character. I'm not a man, strong enough man. You know, like my dad is a guy's guy. He's an opiate addict, but somehow he could put food on the table. I couldn't. I don't know. Apparently, I suffer from an illness, an allergy of the body, in which my body reacts differently to the consumption of alcohol and cocaine than most people out there. You know, when I drink and use, I go until some kind of death or destruction happens in my life. I can't tell you when I'm going to stop. Religious leaning has nothing to do with it. Sexual orientation has nothing to do with it. Color of skin has nothing to do with it. Socioeconomic background has nothing to do with it. Hey, intelligence, worst thing for you, has nothing to do with it. Or not even having intelligence, thinking I know, worst thing for me, nothing to do with it. This illness is an equal opportunity death. It welcomes everyone that has it. What boggles my mind even more than the fact that was news to me, that I suffer from an allergy to the body. My body reacts differently, and it's not my fault. What boggles my mind is that I kept on going back to the first drink. I kept on going back to the first hit. Time after time after time. Ample evidence of my life. The first drink, the first drug destroys my life. I'm still going back on it. And this illness took me to many suicide attempts. Slash wrist, bottles of sleeping pills, bottles of pills, hose and exhaust of the car, emergency rooms and psych ward visits and charcoal drinks that they make you drink in those emergency rooms, crying family members and bawling parents and my mom's broken heart, begging me not to do this again, meaning with every fiber of my being, I won't, Ma. I promise you, I won't drink it. I won't do this no more. Meaning it. 2 or 3 days later, they let me out of the psych ward there. This brain with a virus in it. Hey, a drink would fix that. You just need the right girlfriend. Cunning, baffling, and powerful. Cunning, baffling, and powerful. Just dying. Just dying. There's not enough power within me or within you or any other human being. There's not enough information within me or within you, within all the archives of all the encyclopedias, of all the libraries on this earth, that I could read, and I could not be one of you. Information doesn't seem to be enough. I have to have transformation. Hear what you taught me. Even this big book can be information if my disease gets a hold of it. I have to have transformation, is what you taught me. And meanwhile, I'm just dying, this bitter morass of self-pity. Bill Wilson, beautiful descriptions of this spiritual malady, what it looks like, what it feels like, restless, irritable, discontented, quicksand all around me, loneliness, this despair. I can't breathe, man. My skin hurts. Life is heavy for me. That's how it feels. I'm confused by life. I'm always thinking I am the way I am because of something that happened to me as a kid or something that you did to me or something that the government, I'm always thinking something's on the outside. And that makes sense, like it makes sense because like if you would have watched me, I kept on looking. I know I'm sure people can relate, but our newer friends, if you can relate, I kept on looking to the outside for the solution, right? Because I thought the problem was in the outside. So therefore the solution has to be on the outside. If I change the girlfriend, if I change the environment, change people, places, and things, right? Which is at the beginning of sobriety, that's needed. I'm not making fun of that. That's needed, but I'm saying to be the permanent solution, that cannot be for me. But you tell me, oh, kid, the problem is inside of you. Well, so is the solution. The light is inside of you. Just like the disease doesn't make two hard turns for us, it's an equal opportunity death. God doesn't make two hard turns for me. He's an equal opportunity solution. God doesn't have any grandkids. We're all his children, the big book says. Deep down within every man, woman, and child is a fundamental idea of this loving power. And that's been my experience. That's been my experience. I was introduced to you guys in 2006, 12-step, fell in love with you guys. I was sober for about 4 to 6 months. I was really happy to coming to a lot of meetings. I wasn't working then, so I would come to 2, 3 meetings a day. And service at the meetings and like fellowship and before and after, shake hands and coffee pots and kitchen duty, all the stuff that we do back then, all in person, right? Not like today. So at about 6 months of sobriety, I was happy. There was nothing going on. Something inside me said, hey, you're a loser. What are you doing at this stage hanging out with these people? You're never going to amount to anything. A drink would fix that. Your problem is cocaine. Don't do that, but a drink would fix that. So I went out drinking. After a few, hey, called the dealer. And I was off, man. 7 years, in and out. Those 7 years I was telling you, in and out, knocking on every single door. That was the 7 years. Dying, man. Dying. Confused, pissed off, angry. Angry at you, depressed at me. I thought I'm doing what you're telling me. But see, I wasn't. I wanted something for nothing. I wanted shortcuts in life. I wanted to come to these meetings and stand beside you by osmosis, get whatever it is I think you have. I wanted to be in the 12-step program and dibble dabble in the 12 steps, give you ideas how I think they should be done, argue about God. It's as if like I always use analogies and I think in pictures sometimes. So there's a couple of different analogies. One is a gym analogy, one's a restaurant analogy. The gym analogy, I like that, right? It's if I go to a gym, sign up for the gym, go to 90 times in 90 days, clean the machines, shake hands with people, get inspired by people that have beautiful physiques. Hey, Young, how did you do that, brother? Oh, thank you very much. That inspires me. Go home. Imagine if I go to people that are injured, that are in pain, and say, oh man, I don't feel like I'm alone anymore. You have pain, I have pain. Thank you very much. Go home. I did that in Cocaine Anonymous, some version of that for 7 years. Of course, I have to go to the gym, but I got to jump on the treadmill. I got to use the weights. I got to do something. I got to use, of course, I have to go to meetings. But all those things that we do in the meetings point to the solution of the 12 steps in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. That's what gets me recovered and happy most of the time. I'm present to this beautiful life most of the time. My last outing wasn't as bad as 100 before that. I was renting a room in a men's recovery home in southeast Toronto there. I was back in the program for 4 months, a lot of fellowship, a lot of meetings, dibble-dabbling in the steps, a lot of ideas also. I went out for one night, snuck back in to that room. I passed out and I came to. And I was in a lot of pain. My joints were throbbing. My skin was hurting. Like when you have the flu. And my mind was racing, man. You're a loser. You're a loser. It would be better if you weren't here. A drink would fix that. A drink would fix that. My knees got bent. And my mouth opened up. This is the way I describe it because this is my truth. I had nothing to do with bending my knees. I had nothing to do with opening my mouth. I was watching it happen. And a prayer came out of me. God, whoever you are, whatever you are, can you just please help me not be like this anymore? because I can't do this anymore. I am tired. Can you help me? God, can you help me? I don't even know if you are, but can you help me? One prayer from a broken soul. God doesn't make too hard terms. This beautiful power shined its light, and it just pulled me back to you guys in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous and Cocaine Anonymous. Put a new teacher in my path. This teacher opened the big book with me. We started to go through it line by line. We followed the black on the white. Just the way it worked for me. Doesn't mean everyone has to do it that way. Certainly not. We did the steps to the best of our ability as outlined in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And this big book became alive to me. It started to become 3D to me. I started to get present to the depth and weight of it. Because the teacher that was in front of me didn't make it a intellectual exercise. It wasn't an unpacking for an hour of one paragraph. What it was is that she poured her experience on the page of this book. And this book was a couple of inches thick, became thousands of kilometers deep because I got to lay my own experience next to it. And I got to see that I'm a cocaine addict, that I'm an alcoholic. Just like those two guys, Bill Wilson and Dr. were many years before that. So maybe I'm one like you guys. I'm not exactly like you guys, that maybe this program can work for me too. We wouldn't move forward until the actions was taken. And every time I would take an action, I would feel like I'm becoming more free and more free and more free and more free of me. More free of me. For the sake of time, 22 minutes up. For the sake of time, because I want to talk about life a little bit today, I'm going to put if I put a bow on it, my experience with the steps the first time around. The steps are not a homework assignment. They're a way of life for me, right? So let's say my first time around the steps, the best way to describe it is that my entire life, I felt like I was walking this pitch black, dark hall, and I didn't know where I was going. I kept on falling and bumping hitting my head on the floor or twisting my ankle and pissed off and hitting you and drinking at you and drinking at this. And I just didn't know. Right? Sleepwalking, thinking I'm awake. The spiritual teacher used to say that. And then as a result of these steps, it's as if like somebody went inside my heart, something went inside my heart, and somebody went in the corner of the room at the same time, flicked on the lights. Whoa. Look at the colors. You mean it was me this whole time? I could have sworn it was you. I'm going down the wrong way. Oh, I thought it was you. I started to become free and more free and more free and more free. I started to sponsor people early on in sobriety. At 3 months sober, I'm sponsoring. I know that's not everybody's experience, and I'm not saying it should be or it has to be. It's just my experience, because believe me, I was scared at that time. I didn't want to. When my sponsor and my elder said, you better pass something on to somebody, you're one of those that's not going to stay sober otherwise. They saw me for 7 years dying, right? I was at the 12th step. I was continuing to make my amends. I continued to practice with 10 and 11, just getting my feet under me, right? I was scared. I'm like, who wants somebody with 3-4 months of sobriety as a sponsor? I sure don't. At that time, I was saying that, right? And what my sponsor would say to me is that, Ali, that's very interesting. Very interesting thinking you have. Because if Bill Wilson or Dr. Bob had some rule written in stone that there is you must have 1 year before sponsoring or 6 months or any set period of time, we would all be dead. They had weeks and days and they were trying to, doing what they do. What I was told is that it's none of your business to whom, how, when you pass this message on. When you're ready, you are ready because we tell you, you pray in the morning. So I said, okay. So I would pray some childish prayer, I guess you could say, or childlike prayer. God, if you see fit, would you put a sponsee in my path? Because I don't want to drink and use and die anymore. If you don't mind, please, God, if you see fit. And I would go to these rooms sharing from transformation. And people were just in awe what has happened to me. Because they saw me for 7 years, right? And one thing led to another. Spirit had me chair a meeting at a men's shelter. I would go visiting this time, not staying. Read 3 pages from the big book. Read these men would share from the chaos of their life and the tragedies and the pain. And I would share from the fact that that was me 3 months ago, 4 months ago. I haven't had a drink and I'm happy a lot of times now. I would go back saying the same thing. They would trust me. They would come after every meeting. They start to come to me and say, Ali, these 12 steps you're talking, can you just help us? Whatever it is that sure I can. I'll take you through the big book like I was thinking, right? And listen, I don't know if any of those men are sober today. Any of those gifts from God are sober today. But you know who is? Me. I'm sober. This language of love started because Bill Wilson was going to drink in the Mayflower Hotel lobby. He needed another alcoholic to share with, so he stays sober. Not from an agenda to keep Dr. Bob sober. He tried that for the first 6 months, failed. He stayed sober, but if the program didn't start, he would have drank again. This language of love started when the Spirit turned his gaze to the phone directory, and he made a few calls and ended up meeting Dr. Bob, 15-minute conversation, 5-6 hours. We all know the story. Ripple effect started from that language of love. 2 people, one person's desire to stay sober himself. Look at this universe of 12-step programs. Millions and millions of people. Language of love. Waves of it. That we are now, 37, 38 of us, are riding in this meeting as a result of what happened 89 years ago, man. If you're newly sober, if you're younger in sobriety and your sponsor tells you that you're at the 12th step, I pray that God puts members of Cocaine Anonymous in your life that are going to fan that fire for you and not extinguish it. Because there could be, man, yeah, I pray for that. I pray for that. The first 3, I remember I was sober 3 years, sponsoring a lot of men and speaking here and there and coming to these meetings and professing how the relationship with God is the most important relationship in my life. And a long timer pulled me aside that had a relationship with me, pulled me aside and kindly, didn't embarrass me in front of people, He knew me. Pulled me aside and said, Ali, that's interesting because I want you to consider something, he said. By the way, I feel like, this is a side note, my head's talking to me, so I got to put it on the table so it loses power. I feel like I say the same things in every meeting because that's all my experience is. I'm always talking about this experience, and I have nothing new for anybody, okay? It's just my experience. So, sorry if it sounds like the same talk. It is what it is. So my experience with this was, Ali, I want you to consider, if you give, what other important relationship do you have in your life? I said my wife, Afsi. Well, if you give Afsi on a daily basis, the amount of time that you're giving God, she would divorce you. Imagine the only communication I had with my wife is, good morning, honey. Good night, honey. What relationship? What are you talking about? Right? I was still doing that 3 years in what I was doing when I first came in. Keep me sober, God. Thank you for keeping me sober, God. Nothing wrong with that. Please don't. I'm not, please forgive me. I'm not trying to offend anybody. There's a point I'm making is that for me, this path is broad and roomy when I first step in. And every humble 24-hour step that I take, it starts becoming narrow and narrow and narrower in a couple of different ways. One, I can't get away with doing the things that I was doing before. Not for too long. Not for too long. It hurts too much, man. Second, pertinent, relevant to what we're talking about, I can no longer get away with not doing what the big book suggests. Step 11 suggests prayer and meditation. From that day to this, trial and error. The prayer life has grown grown up about me. Meditation. All kinds of meditation. What the big book suggests in contemplation, to silence, to guided, to this and that, and spiritual readings, all sorts of prayers, man. It's just developed because I have a desire to get to know him better. Because I was set on fire from that first time when I woke up with you guys. Not fire for a perfect life, fire with a deep yearning to get to be in a deeper relationship with this loving God. On fire as in like a deeper yearning to be with you. To be more useful. To just be a little bit better person today than I was yesterday. I think that's a good goal for me to have in Cocaine Anonymous. Not perfection, just a little bit better today than I was yesterday. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. And words don't do justice when I try to describe to you the feeling of joy and peace and quiet of the mind and the soul that I have on most days. Words don't do justice. And words don't do justice when life gets tough. Then knowing that everything's going to be all right in the face of pain, in the presence of pain, in the presence of fear. I don't know whoever said that faith and fear cannot exist in the same space. They can in my life. They better in my life. God better exists when I'm afraid in a fetal position. My faith may look a little bit differently to you on the outside, but faith better exists, man. Faith better exists. That's when I need him the most. Okay, where are we gonna go now? One time I was as a result of praying and meditating and self-examination, prayer and meditation, the last few years, I have cultivated and deepened and strengthened a relationship with a loving God, with an inner resource, with a presence, with a knowing that I cannot describe, cannot explain, I can experience. One time I was sitting in meditation early in the morning. I was working construction at that time. Construction, you work early. So if you want to get up to spend time with God, you wake up early. Even earlier than that. I was sitting, and then a voice spoke. Like I hear it. When I tell you I hear it, and it's not audible. It's just my experience. The cells in my body, it's like an information. It's like, oh, okay, it's loud. Go upstairs, tell Afsi that everything's going to be okay. 1000%, baby. That's one thing Afsi and I have between each other. When she's worried, I'm like, 1000%, baby. Don't you worry. God's got this thing. And it's like 5:30 in the morning. She would kick my butt if I wake her up at 5:30 in the morning. She gets up at 6:30, right? To go to work. But I've learned to listen to that voice. I slowly went up the stairs. I slowly bent over to beside her ear. And I said, hey, babe, 1000%, everything's going to be okay. Her eyes pop open. She sits up, like springs up. She's like, what the F are you doing? I'm like, I'm sorry. I was meditating and the voice said to come and tell you 1000%, baby. I know it in my heart. Everything's going to be okay. She says to Paul, cry. Are you joking? Are you kidding me? I was awake. This predator mind had woken me up and it was racing and I was so worried about this business deal that I have that's not going the way I want. I thought, oh my God, my business is going to end. It was torturing me. Are you kidding me? You mean God sent you here? I give her a big kiss and a big hug, and I go to work, and during my first break, I call her to see how she's doing. She said, you don't understand. When you did that, I knew God spoke to me. I knew it was God. All my fears fell from me. I went into my mother's room after my mother-in-law lives with us. Her mother, she's like, I went to mommy's room, and when she woke up, and I gave her a big hug, and I just gave her love throughout the day. Throughout the day. All I was doing just giving people love, giving people kindness, serving people. And I became present to, once again, the truth that I always knew, that all I gotta do is serve God's other kids, give love. She said I was floating throughout the day. And that business deal, whatever happened, didn't destroy my business. It's okay. You know? Man, it's juicy, this program. A loving God. Prayer, meditation, self-examination, in order to pass it on to his other kids. One time, no, I don't want to share this. Okay, I'll share this. So, yeah, lack of time. It's 9 minutes, so I'll share this. The last few years, to the best of my ability, all I've been doing, clean house, trust God, help others. What you keep demonstrating for me, what you keep suggesting to me. Clean house, trust God, and help others. With a lot of mistakes. I'm broken, fumbling, stumbling. Ugly sometimes doing it, but I'm doing it. I've been stepping back and watching in awe of this power do for me what I cannot do for myself. The fact that Ashley and I are sober despite all this, man. The fact that I was I never felt like I was enough in romantic relationships, always had short-term relationships. Everyone always left me, rightfully so. After coming up to 11 years of marriage, this May 16th, we're going to Mexico with the entire family to celebrate our anniversary. A loving marriage. Child of God she is. Man, I love her so much. God has to be everything in this marriage, or else the marriage becomes nothing. 14 years ago, 15 years ago, my brain protects me, I think, from details. I have to really sit down and think, when was my last suicide attempt? Somewhere around there. I didn't know what to do with this life that you'd given me. I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't want it. I want to end it. 10 years ago, God gave us a baby boy. 9.5 years ago, as he likes to say, sorry. His name is Darius. And he's the best thing in my life. One of the best things in my life. And I'm a good dad. I'm such a good dad because of the love you pour into me, not because of me. Thank you for that. I appreciate you. All the things that I wanted and maybe a kid deserved and needed, it should have had from a father that didn't have to give to me. My father didn't have to give to me. No, he didn't want to. It wasn't given to him to give to me. I get to pour into my son now. I'm happy most of the time, not all the time, obviously. You know. But let me tell you something. If this entire share, or if the shares that we do from 2, 3, 5 minutes from the floor of these rooms, from these boxes, right? If all they entailed was how great life is, and I'm loving my life because I got the job that I want, and I'm in love with my wife, and we have a house. You know how cheap and shallow that would make Cocaine Anonymous? Because that would mean that my happiness, the peace of my mind, the peace of my soul, and my sobriety is dependent on my ego getting what it wants. It's easy to say, God is good, I got the job. I'm not demeaning that. I've done that too. Yes, God is good. Yes, I have the job. But God is good, and this program is deep. This program has meaning and purpose, has given me meaning and purpose in my life. Because it works, it's a design for living that works when life gets tough. And sometimes life's gotten tough. Sometimes life's throwing curveballs. Separation between me and Ashley, didn't see that curveball coming. We almost got divorced. How did that one? I didn't see that one. Can't find a job to help support a family as a dad. Can't see that one coming. Didn't see that one coming. The noise in an addict's head. You're a loser. You're not a real man. The depression that ensues that. Depression following me from childhood to adulthood, into recovery, sponsoring people, depressed sometimes, ashamed sometimes. I had to get outside help, inside help. It has transformed, right? But I'm saying there's been a lot of valleys in my life. And every single valley has brought me back to the table with God for a deeper level of experience. Designed for living that works. Every single valley has made me a little bit more humble, a little bit more compassionate to someone else's pain, a little bit more empathetic to other people. I believe a better messenger. I've had to learn. The long-timers have taught me that this is not a homework assignment. This is a design for living, like breathing, that works when life gets tough, and it's inside out, not outside in. I tried to dress up this monkey for years. Me, talking about me. It didn't work. So I had to go inside out. I have had to learn how to live this program in my life with every fiber of the fabric of my being. Because I don't suffer from alcohol addiction. I don't suffer from an alcohol problem. I don't suffer from a cocaine problem. If that's what I suffer from, I would put those two things down and walk away, like my younger sister did. I suffer from alcoholism, cocaine addiction. It is a soul sickness and is a spiritual malady in which on my own power, I want to crawl out of my own skin. On my own power, I'm always thinking about what you're thinking about me. Did I sound stupid at that meeting? On my own power, that's me. You know, always worry, always some destination to get to. The ironic thing is, you get to that destination, after some time, there's another one to get to. Never satisfied. That's not the truth for me anymore, because God is closer to me than breath. I'm awake, I'm aware, I'm present in this love, in this moment, in gratitude to his love, to his presence. Right now. Right now. There is no tomorrow. Right now. Right now. With this gift of a moment right now. With my fellow travelers. That's what I'm present to these days. Three years ago, Afsi had it in her heart that she wants to have another baby. I tried to argue against it. I really tried my best. She pulled me aside and she said, you don't understand. God put this on my heart. And if I don't try, I'm always going to be regretful. How can I say no to that? Okay. We went to a doctor. We're both older. Our bodies are a little bit messed up in different ways, So we used medical help, still our body parts, but, medical help. Right? And the doctor, we sat down at the doctor's office and actually held my hands, and the doctor was telling us the bad news of you only have 1% chance of a healthy pregnancy at this stage in your life. Don't waste your money giving us this much money to. He was an honest doctor. He was a good doctor. Actually started to cry, just tears rolling down her eyes. She looked at the doctor and said, Doctor, thank you for that information. Please, you do whatever you need to do, doctor. And we're going to do what we do. Because I don't think you know the God that we know, do you? Because if he wants it, it'll be. My son Maximus was born 6 months ago. She's 52. She doesn't care if I say it. She looks fantastic. She's 52. I'm 47, almost 48. Can you believe that? Me, someone like me. Unlovable, ugly, broken. I get to live a life like this. With a group of people that I don't have to hide who I am. I'm hurting today. I can say that to you. Without any judgment. Through this desire to be better. Through this desire to be a better servant. Get closer to God. Set of actions. I soon become present to what has always been there. Always is there. Grace. In the storms of life. Grace. That's priceless. And you can't tell me there isn't a God. You can't tell me this God idea doesn't work. I have ample evidence in my own life and in your sharing that it does. Man, there's so much more I could share about what's going on in life today, but for the sake of time, I won't. Let's see, it's 1 minute left. All right. For our newer friends, newly coming back, I want to welcome you. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you being here. I know they say that newcomer is the most important person. I disagree. It's my opinion. You gave me a mic. I disagree. Every member of Cocaine Anonymous is just as important. Every member is. But you as a new person, thank you for being here. We appreciate you. We really do. If you're sick and tired and sick and tired and sick and tired and sick and tired of being you, and you're out of ideas, I suggest you pray, like the set-aside prayer, any version of that, for God to set aside everything that you think you know, like I had to. Get a sponsor, join a home group, dive in these steps, and come and experience this love that we're talking about. Come and experience this light that we're talking about. Come and experience this love story that we're all talking about. It's a lot more than not using, not drinking program, right? Thank you, guys. I just want to end with this. I think 36, 7 seconds left. Okay. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. I appreciate the long timers.
You can keep going. Okay. We appreciate you and we love you, Ali. Thank you. That was exceptional. That was beautiful. I don't know, man. It's the language of the heart. I just love you, bro.